Hey everybody, welcome to EFP Live. Let's just get this show on the road. Timer's done, baby. Hey everybody, how are we doing today? I see my camera is definitely not in the space I want it. There we go. Super purple background. I'm here today to do a bunch of stuff, actually. We have quite the lineup. It's been a pretty busy week, to say the least. So today we're going to be going over a couple of things. Let me grab my show notes here for you. Today we're going to be going over Cobalt Press's new starter set coming out that they're doing with Steamforged Games. We're also going to be going over the Cobalt Press Monster Vault 2. Alchemy RPG is bringing Cthulhu to their virtual tabletop. Evil Genius Sidekick, which I'm hoping to have an interview for that either this week or next. And then Outcast Raider review from Sean. And of course, what our lovely ad here has for us, we're going to be finishing up the Dungeon Chef today. I'm excited about that. If you watched our Breachers series of Breachers and Shadowdark, we already had somebody who was playing a Dungeon Chef, and with this new Crawlers Volume 1 that I'm coming out with, I'm having 3 classes in there, a bunch of new gear, and Dungeon Chef is one of those classes. This is all kind of like a precursor for Breachers to come out. Basically to see if it's accepted, if people like my work, and if they're interested in picking up, you know, more classes and more splat material for Shadowdark. Let me change this background. This background is a little too purple. It makes my foodie hat blend in. I don't like it. Don't like it. So let's see what else we got. We got synthwave, punk. It's a little more day-like, right? A little green. That's not bad. Best chef ever, huh? Best chef ever. Wasn't that the chef that ate it? That didn't make it? Isn't that your chef? Psychedelic rock. Ooh, I kind of like this. It's a little bright. Let me drop this one here. Opposed to this. This is pretty good. Didn't he die? Is that the best chef ever? Are you off today, Adam? Adam, you're usually working, man. You guys just hunkering down right now? The good old California burn from home. Like, we get snow and cold weather advisories when we stay home. You guys just get fire and stay home. Let's see here. What do we want here? We need food. I wonder if they have Senshi. I'm not wearing my Senshi shirt today. I wish I was, but I'm not. Let's see if I can get Senshi from here. Oh, perfect. I mean, it's a horrible drawing and it looks like crap, so that makes it even better. Just bread. Oh, you're driving. Oh, okay. Driving and watching my stream. Well, drive safe, I guess. Drinking from the skulls of my enemies today. A little Hawthorne coffee to start us off. I've had a lot going on, man. I had an interesting morning. I had somebody ring the doorbell. I opened the door thinking it was a delivery. So I picked the package up off the porch, turned, ran, slipped, fell, fucked their shit up. Pretty sure they messed their arm up. I couldn't stop laughing as I went down to get the box full of what I believe to be dog treats. Have fun with those in 5-degree weather and your teeth that you barely have. I hope you learned your lesson crawling away while I watched from the window, laughing my ass off. And for anyone who thinks that I'm a dick for doing that, you were stealing from me. I didn't even have to touch you. The lovely Winter did it for me. Legitimately the funniest thing that's happened to me this week. I was definitely laughing. So good luck when you go to the hospital. I definitely reported it everywhere. Everywhere local that you could possibly go with your broken arm. So have a good one. Hope the dog treats were worth it. On to happier things. So working on a new project in the background. I'm not allowed to say a lot. It's looking pretty good, so I'm excited about what we're doing. When I can announce that, I will. I don't know what our NDA is going to look like for it yet or not, so I'm keeping a little hush-hush, but I can tell you, if I get to do this, it's definitely some 80s nostalgia for me, and I'm pretty excited. Other than that, my project that I'm doing for a Shadowdark conversion for a company is just about complete. Maybe like another round of soft edits and some additional stuff to do this afternoon after the show. But other than that, that's done. I ran a couple of private games. And then for those who haven't seen social media, I posted a mini campaign. So if you don't know, I do some work for Dragon Sandbox. It's a local group that gets together and offers Dungeons and Dragons for people to learn and play. And I know I'm not a fan of the current D&D environment, but I'm always a fan of new people picking up the hobby. To me, if the gateway drug is D&D to get you in 2014 or 2024 or fucking second edition, I'm all about it. I really am all about it. So once they've come enough times to Dragon Sandbox, they can opt to do a mini campaign. And I didn't know that this was a thing until a couple weeks ago. I haven't had the time to deliver what I wanted to run to the guy who helps organize all of this. So I did midwinter, talked to him. He's like, yeah, I'll put something together. So in my bout of insomnia this week, which has been horrible, by the way, I don't know what the fuck is going on. My insomnia has been just next level. Nothing has been stopping it from like leaving the room, reading. My phone doesn't even sit in my bedroom a lot of times. I leave it in my office. I have a second alarm. I've tried everything. Like I've done all this stuff under the sun. But when I'm in a really creative state, I don't sleep. So in that creative state, while sitting on the couch, finishing Nocturne. By the way, if you haven't watched Nocturne, Castlevania, I highly recommend it. It's got 100% right now. 100%. Yeah. That's insane. I designed the campaign. And for that campaign, I put a whole bunch of stuff together in Canva and generated some art. And then one is generated in Kit Bashed, and the other one is just Kit Bashed, where I've just kind of like taken a bunch of assets together that I've had and made a collector's edition. And I submitted that along with the campaign. And I wanted to make something that I felt like they wouldn't get from other GMs that are there. Everyone runs different styles. And since I know I'm known for running kaiju-like stuff, like I love, as you all know, kaiju styled campaigns. It's like, man, I should run something that is kaiju. So instead of doing like a regular kaiju, the best kaiju in D&D is going to be a Tarrasque. So here, let me just show you what I designed during my bout of insomnia. I think that's probably going to make the most sense if you can just see it. We get rid of this PDF. We don't need this right now. So this is the last footstep, which is the piece that I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I think this would be great. So this is the last footstep. I wanted to make something that was like kind of epic looking and look like a book cover. So they feel like they're signing up to play in like a published campaign. Because that's what I've noticed a lot of tabletop people who are new to tabletop. And I'm going to say tabletop here out. I'll use D&D for my ads because we've all watched the YouTuber, Dungeon Tuber fiasco about clickbait. It's not clickbait. It's called algorithm. For me, I will not run D&D unless I'm supporting a third-party publisher. And really, I would rather run any other game. But for this one, I'm running my own campaign setting. This is going to take place in Magic and Monsters, which is my 5e original setting, and I can still use it for that. Someday I'll convert it to something else. Maybe we'll do a series. I don't know if I'll do like Tales of the Valiant or whatever. So this is the last footstep, Implements of Destruction. This is a raised Tarrasque. I don't want to give too much information away, but what I'll tell you is, so the tower here, this is a little bigger than I want. I should have shaved these sides off, but I didn't. It is the Court of the Rose. Remember, like Figurines of Wondrous Power? Well, in Magic and Monsters, in Udarak, which is the Kingdom of Courts, they have the Court of the Rose, and they're enchanters and like war veterans that go out. So that tower is like this little tiny Figurine of Wondrous Powers you take, and you set down, and it grows like this cast iron gate around it of rose vines, and it's a little like transportable fortress that you have. So that's the cover for this. But I was like, man, my favorite thing isn't this, though. It's always the collector's editions. So I did the front and back of it, and we'll read the back on the second one. So I did the other version, which is the Heart of the Tarrasque. That's kind of the concept of the entire campaign. Oh, I just noticed that this is missing the colors. Huh. That's supposed to have a gold D20 around it, but... So I did the collector's edition one. I thought this would be like a foil embossed cover, and that circle represents like the maze to get into the heart and the flensing fields. So this is just a bunch of different assets. You can kind of see that I've thrown together for it. But on the back of it, in the flensing fields, where the last footstep of the god Zyrocrux gave rise to a monstrous Tarrasque. Dark forces stir once more. Thought to have been slain long ago, the beast remains now fuel a cult's twisted rituals, spreading chaos across the land. Using stolen implements of power, the cult seeks to harness the Tarrasque's lingering essence and resurrect a force of unimaginable destruction. As the flensing fields ripple and twist under the strain of their magic, kingdoms teeter on the brink of collapse, desperate to stop a growing madness. Coeur la Rose has called heroes to reclaim the stolen relics and bring an end to the cult's ritual before it's too late. The fields are unforgiving, the stakes are high, and the salvation may come at a cost. Will you rise to the challenge, or will you fall to the flensing fields inside this 4-part mini campaign? Now, my markdown didn't work here, but this is supposed to be in bold. So I'm gonna go like this and fix this. Boom. It should be inside this 4-part campaign, and that's supposed to be bumped down. And this is supposed to be slightly larger. So the reason I added this back part here is I wanted the players who are looking to play this to know what they're about to get into. And the only way I could do that was by giving them kind of a glimpse, you know, like a bonus glimpse into what this would be. So they're going to have Fractured Wasteland. These should be bold as well. For some reason, my stuff didn't carry over. So I'll explore the Flensing Fields. Flensing Fields in Magic and Monsters is in between 2 mountain ranges, and the fields change to magic all the time. And they can be like muddy during one age, or they can be twisted like forest the next one. And it gives you this customizable area between the 2 mountain range to have your war between these 2 kingdoms. The kingdom of Udarak, which is the kingdom of courts, and Imperia, which is the kingdom of monsters. In Magic and Monsters, when you cast spells on other people, because everyone's human to start, if it's a monster that exists, the magic can reflect back, you get marked, and over time, you can gain those monsters' traits. Now, I'm not going to be able to do that in this game because I fear that it would confuse the players, but this gives them an idea of what they're going to be getting into. So I'm pretty excited for this. I think this will be pretty fun. So I created this the other day. This is just one of those things where like I couldn't sleep, so I was like, fuck it. What can I actually get done? What can I do in this insomnia to make work? And I don't know, man, like when I have bouts of insomnia like this, I always like to try to get shit done so that I feel like I'm accomplishing something. Because if I don't feel like I'm accomplishing things during insomnia, it feels like I'm just wasting the fucking day. So anyway, that's what this is. That's why I did this. I just fixed those edits while we were talking. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool, man. They're fun. What was that, Adam? I do this epic. Thanks, dude. It was just one of those, like, I got to give them something fun. I have to give them something that isn't just boring. You know what I mean? Boring pieces. I wanted them to have something that felt like they were joining a campaign because they're paying to play. So that's what I did during that. What's up, buddy? Oh my God. Hi, AW. I mean, you did a truckload of work there. Yeah, I did that, and I also prepped for today's game. Or today's show. I prepped a bunch of stuff for today's show, too. So, that's what insomnia does for me. I just work. 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 I just work I got to do something with it. I can't just let it, you know, fly by. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be pretty fun. So I edited that. Those will be pretty fun. I'll send them off to the guy so he can set them up. He's like, you don't have to do art pieces. It's like, you're right. I don't have to, but I want to, because I want them to have an experience. Like, if I'm going to teach people to play games, I want to teach them that there's many options. And I guess we don't run this at the restaurant, Chef's Table, which is what the brother of the guy who organizes owns a really awesome restaurant. Instead, it goes to a local game store. So it kind of spreads the love to local game stores as well. So instead of us just doing things, instead of us just doing things there, we do them at a store to help, like, sell books, get people into the hobby, show them places they can play, so on and so on. All right, friends, I gotta head into class. Glad I got to tune in for a little bit. See you, buddy. I'll see you Monday. You can play in ETHAUNTIA now. Oh my God, what, AEW? You gotta respond. You can't just say, oh my God, and then not give me anything. But yeah, so let's talk about some of the first stuff here. It's a little dark in here, surprisingly. All right, so two good things. Now Adam's gone, we can talk about this. So up here, in this thing is one of my tarantulas, and it has not eaten since March of last year. It took it 6 months to shed its exoskeleton. And now it finally ate yesterday for the first time. So now I feel a little more comfortable. He's ate. And then the one down here is doing well. He's just an aggressive, large shit. He's just big. I think he's drinking water right now. But yeah, they're Adam's favorite things. So, oh shit, Adam's still here. Yeah, so there's a couple other things I want to talk about before we get into news here. I have been thinking about changing the overlays for EFP Live. I really want to bring a little bit more to the EFP Live table. And right now, I have a lot of shows that are wrapped around the Corpse Talk brand. Because right now we have the interviews, which once those get lined back up, we'll be running. We have Headless Nights, which is like my horror news and testing the dungeons that the audience makes, which is super fucking fun. And then we have After Hours, which is like just a sit down interview if I want to interview somebody for Corpse Talk, but I don't want to do a game with them. Like, maybe they're not somebody who's publishing something, but they're just a really cool person to talk to in the industry. That's kind of what that's for. And I've thought about taking EFP Live and turning it into, what do you mean the reaction didn't play? Oh, there might not be reactions on here. Because this is made just to record the video. That might be my fault. I don't have them on this part of the stream. I bet you it's over in the other one. So anyway, I wanted to, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't know. My bad. If I go here, hold on. Hold on, let me go here. It'll play here. I know it will. Let me grab the Streamloot cards. Let me go back over to here. I have it so that when I'm filming, it doesn't play stuff here. But try now. I just added it to this scene, and then I'll continue my talk. This scene just doesn't have it usually. I'll put it over. I put it on this side, actually. Because I put video and overlays on this one, and I don't want to fuck up your the look. Oh, okay. Stream relax. Oh, gotcha. So that brings me to what I was going to say. I love Corpse Talk, and I love the brand, and I like the style, and I'm really tempted to take not today, but the Wednesday slot, and maybe make it a Corpse Talk slot during the day. I have a name that I really like that I'm not going to announce right now, but I'm thinking about switching it. Or I might redo the overlays for this show. I haven't decided. I just kind of want to redress this show. I like the content, but I want it to look a little different. And I since I use this as a recording studio for stuff, between here and the verticals that get recorded out of here, I want a set of overlays that work well. Because like, so this screen here is great, and I use this one to record a lot of stuff. But when I go to like the starting soon, this serves no purpose really, because I'm not going to be using this much longer. I'm just going to, when I boot up, it's just going to go. I don't use this pause screen for really anything. The commercial is for all of this stuff in case I want them to play, right? The game screen is if I'm running a game here, but I'm not doing that right now. This is if I have a guest on. And then this is the one we do all of our work in. This is the full cam, which is used frequently. This is the solo cam, which I like, but I don't... Besides having a different view, I don't use this one that often, right? And then this is a 2-cam view that this is really made for video games. And I don't use this one at all. And then I think that's everything. So I'd like to gut this one and make some stuff that works for what I'm doing and change the overlay style. So I don't know what you guys think. If I did Corpse Talk, it's be Corpse Talk something. I have an idea for the name I really like to decorate around it, like design the trade dress, the overlays. And I added a deck of coffin cards. Those would be question cards, so you guys, just like when we did watching paint dry, can like ask questions, and they'd be open-ended, so they wouldn't be things like, what's your favorite comic book? Because those are a closed statement. I want an open statement where it's like, what current comic books are you reading? Or what's your favorite show right now? Or what did you watch this week? Or did you see any movies? And if so, what's your favorite? Or what was the best part? Or do you recommend it? Those kind of things. And then I want to also have a batch of meme cards, because we have so many inside jokes on here, like an empty bucket, for example. And Streamloots doesn't give me enough GIF spots, reaction GIFs, where I'd like to make some cards that do it. And then the cards for this show would be the old watching paint dry cards. I would just swap them with new art, and the price point would be lower because they would be just more for fun to interact on the show. Some of them would have timers and shit. Nothing that makes me do anything stupid, because you guys know that's not my jam on these shows. But being able to ask good questions in case I missed them in the chat log, I can put them that way. Something I'm thinking about. So if you guys are watching this live, put some stuff in the comments over here, and I'll bring them up on screen. If you're watching this later, comment down below. Like, do you want me to change the trade dress? Do you like the Corpse Talk look more? Would it be too confusing? Like, every time the Corpse Talk's up, would you just think that I'm interviewing someone? I don't feel like you would, especially if I do a different color panel in the background. But that's just me thinking out loud right now. I really like that look a lot. And I feel like it's true to me, which would be kind of fun. Don't get me wrong, like the logo that's here, that logo, I mean, that's true to me too, but I don't know, man. Something about the Corpse Talk skull. It's pretty fucking dope. But anyway, that was just some food for thought. So let's get into the news stuff for today. So I'm gonna record this section so I can put it up separate, because people don't always watch the full live stream. Live streams for me to interact with all the people who are like fans of the channel. So I'm gonna start recording here, and I'm gonna record this and just do a live take over some news that's here. Pretty short, probably under 10 minutes. I just want to talk about what's coming out. So I'm gonna start recording here. I think I have everything set up. Let me make sure that I have I'm gonna check this real quick. We're gonna start here. We'll start here. All right. Yeah, that'll work. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to EFP Live. Maybe not live for you, you're probably watching this video later, but I want to talk about some news that's going on in TTRPGs. No, it's not D&D drama. They handle that shit on their own. I don't have time for that right now. Instead, some cool stuff is going on, things coming out, and something I heard about that we didn't talk about last week, and I'm hoping to get one of them on for an interview. So, let's talk about Kobold Press and Steamforged Games. Steamforged Games has been around for a while. I know Kobold Press, when I was with them, really enjoyed working with them. And they announced that they're going to be putting out a starter kit for Tales of the Valiant. I really hope this does well. I love the idea of starter kits in general. I've seen some of these models. I think they're drop casted. I don't know if John's doing these for them. The guy who does... the guy who makes these rings, the Gary Con, these, if he is making them, they're going to be pretty dope. I've seen the new one, by the way, for Gary Con, but I think that Steamforged Games has got a really good set of people making box set stuff. So I'm curious to see how this turns out. I have their miniatures from when Tales of the Valiant came out. I think that was a different company that made the minis. Needless to say, though, this could be awesome. I also think that a lot of people don't know what Tales of the Valiant is. Like, not enough people know. So since they don't, I think this is a good way to kind of get through that and get more people involved. Speaking of Kobold Press, though, they're already making a Monster Vault 2. Now, just so I can say, there was already a book that came out. When they put out Tales of the Valiant, they put out the core book and a Monster Vault. And they're already making a Monster Vault 2. And anyone who's done anything in the 5e, D&D area knows that Kobold Press makes fucking amazing monster manuals. So if this new Monster Vault is out, it looks like it says they're starting on the February 7th. Their goal is 142,000, which I'm sure they'll blow out of the water. But this will be another Monster Vault coming out. And I'm way, way, way excited for this. I think that there is not enough monster books on the market. And I work in reverse. I usually pick a monster and pick some stuff around them and then design an adventure. So the more monster books I have, the better. I buy monster books that aren't even in the system that I'm currently running. Because to me, I can customize a monster from any system into the system I'm running. So super cool. I'm glad they're doing another one. Knowing them, if it's February 7th, you'll probably see this in print sometime in the summer. I'm assuming their goal is to have it by Gen Con in August. That's my guess. But a lot of times with them, we get the PDF before we see the print. So that's pretty fucking cool. Now, with that said, new games, you all know that we use a lot of alchemy over here. Alchemy is a VTT that has more of a cinematic style of use than a traditional top-down tabletop, like if you're playing at home. They're adding some of those features, and they've been working on them over the last year. And then they had a big design change where they're doing a system builder because they realize, at least in my eyes, as you add all these systems to your VTT, there are different rules for each one. And having to make custom code and custom character sheets and overlay pieces and everything, and containers and UI and UX, you come into the problem of a lot of people having to do a lot of work. But if you were to go back to the beginning and make a better building block, you can put these things out better. And I think that's currently what they're doing. And with that, they announced that Cthulhu is going to be over. And I know that Cthulhu is currently already on Alchemy. So check this out. I'm a huge Cthulhu fan. While I don't run it as often as I should, I do really like Cthulhu. I like the set piece. There is some amazing pieces in here, and you can already see some of the art on the bottom. This piece here is amazing. So I'm excited to see what they do with this. Check this out. This piece here, so good. So good. And you can see they're kind of getting everything ready to go. Alchemy RPG already has it out. I believe their Discord was talking about it as well. My only concern is for streamers. I have ran into a lot of problems streaming their platform lately. And it's not a knock on the team. They really need to get out of alpha or beta or whatever they're currently in. Finish the system builder and polish the system out so that it runs smoother. Because I've ran into so many problems here in January. And I know it's all growing pains, so they're my favorite team to work with. They're such good people. But when I see a new game come out, I just worry about more problems coming into play. I will say, if you just play, like you turn on Cthulhu, and you don't have 1,000 other modules added in, it runs really smooth. But once you start adding other things, you run into some issues with slowdown. I use it for Living ETHAUNTIA all the time. We don't have nearly as many problems in Living ETHAUNTIA, but I would like to see this final. I'm so excited to see the final version and an optimization pass come through. The art for this, though, and the animated backgrounds that they do, God, it sets the tone so well. So fucking well. And then last week, I didn't talk about this. So we ran John Wick, what was it? Last holiday season. I think it was like Thanksgiving through Christmas. And we used Everyday Heroes for it. Everyday Heroes just put out something that I wasn't expecting. They put out something called Sidekick. I didn't know they were doing this. This company has a lot of private investment, a lot of venture capital. Without getting into the nitty gritty on it or the Netflix lawsuits they're going through, all that kind of bullshit that they did, they are putting out, I shouldn't say did, had happened to them. Phrasing. They are putting out a digital companion for the modern day TTRPG Everyday Heroes. And it's called, I think, Evil Genius Sidekick. So I have that pulled up. That's probably what we're going to dive into a little deeper here for a few minutes. Because I'm curious to see what's all involved. Anytime you get a good companion app, and we've seen it with D&D Beyond, it makes people flock to it because the level of entry is so much easier for people when there's a digital one that you can, use on your phone. So check this out. So this is a digital companion app. You can subscribe to the following features: exclusive content, free rules, online tools, and a virtual tabletop. I didn't know this was going to have a virtual tabletop. I'm actually a little surprised. And I'm curious to see what they do with a virtual tabletop, because we have so many now. Analysis paralysis and purchase paralysis is not the problem here. The problem becomes where all of your digital assets are stored. So if you're going to be playing Everyday Heroes, I'm curious as to if all the purchases you have or digital purchases you have through DriveThruRPG or anything like that is going to carry over, because buying the same set of rules I already have numerous times to have access to them in different VTTs is starting to get old to me. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I don't know. That's why I want to have somebody on to talk to them about it. But they have bonus features, which is awesome. There's like agency files, new adventures, like the Crow is coming out. I ran the Crow at Gamehole Con, I think it was, a couple years ago. It's VTT ready maps, so you get 2 high quality digital maps, popular day revenue. I don't know if this is gonna be every month. All maps would be VTT ready. That's fucking awesome. You're gonna get tokens. This is cool. It's a time saver, right? Need a little drop shadow there though, so the horns didn't blend into the frame. Their new Intergalactic Heroes is coming out. The open beta rules. I've already had a chance to look through these. I was not able to talk about them because it was NDA'd at the time. But that's gonna be in there. And then you get a discount, 20% off all products. This is huge. So everyday tiers, they are doing tiers. So you have Everyday Heroes Sidekick free, and that includes access to digital products, access to digital products, purchase and own premium digital products, and then Hero tier is $5 or $4 a month right now. It's 20% off, $48 a year. You know what? That's not a bad fee. If Sidekick is updated frequently and used all the time for Evil Genius, I feel like if you buy it as an annual, $48 is the price of a book. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. So you get 4 additional credits if you subscribe before February 28th. Includes the following products: Everyday Heroes Core Rulebook, the Vault Volume 1, which is like all the rules and stuff in it. The Armory, which is coming soon. That's going to be like a splat book with all the gear in it for modern games. And then you earn 2 credits per month to purchase exclusive content. So there's going to be a content calendar. We'll take a look at that in a sec. On top of that, 20% off discount on all physical products, a subscriber badge. I don't really give a shit about that. And then access to private Discord community. I think this mattered in the past more than it does now. Unless this is going to have like Ask Me Anythings and stuff like that, I don't know what a private Discord is going to do. I think that Evil Genius, if you watch this, I think this is a great idea, but that private Discord needs to have value for that $48 a year. If it's a once a month AMA that's only available there, or if it is like GM tips and tricks or asking questions, that would make that part valuable, like a stage in the Discord that you use. Pretty cool though that they're doing this, like a sidekick for all the rules. If this is your main game right now, that's not bad. That's a pretty cheap cost for $4. We'll see how it turns out. I don't know much about it. But here's what it looks like. These are the screenshots. The 4E core rules, dynamic product library, character builders coming soon. So this isn't out yet. It looks like they're, yep. I knew I was going to see this name. Sirenscape. That's pretty cool. Partner with Sirenscape to bring you great sound sets. I will tell you, I have some of the Sirenscape sound sets for, however, it was The Crow or Escape from LA. It was pretty awesome. This I'm interested in. This Adventure Builder, if Adventure Builder ends up being something that, if it ends up being something that people can actually use and saves time and has a way to export into notes so you can take it with you if you're running at a table, this could be pretty fucking awesome. There's not a lot of things that do that. Sound sets as well, and then virtual tabletops. It says, we work with Roll20 and Foundry to bring you great online play experiences. Check the links below to learn more about our partners. Well, hold on a minute. If this is their tabletop, I thought this said they were making a tabletop. Oh no. Okay, I'm more comfortable now. This is a digital asset piece and not a VTT. That makes me really happy, actually. I was worried that they were going to try to build themselves a VTT. This is more like a digital storage library that seems to work in conjunction with. I'll have to get somebody on from Evil Genius. This actually seems really fucking cool. And I really do like their products overall. The monthly isn't a bad price if you do the 5 versus the 4. It's $1 difference. So it's $48 a year versus $5 a month. That's not that bad. But anyway, so yeah, if you're looking to kind of up this and you're playing Everyday Heroes, and I do recommend it if you like D20 systems, this has got some really good stuff. I made John Wick for it in like a week. This could be a really good idea if you want to keep in that D20 system and maybe get your players off of playing fantasy all the time and play something modern. Everyday Heroes, and this might be a really good way to do it because there's library access and so on. Maybe I'll do a deep dive review into this and let people know what it looks like. But for today, I just wanted you to know it's available along with the rest of the news and what's going on. If you're watching this and you're live, stick around. For those who watch this, and this is recorded and put out for you, you know the YouTube routine. Click bells, click the things, do the stuff, share the shit. But down below, put comments. Is there a game right now that you're playing that you'd like to see me review? Or is there something you would like help on? GM tips or player tips for a game? AW, I'm looking at you and calling you out on live video. No, I'm not doing My Little Pony. It's not happening, man. Those are called dreams. They stay in here. So, to everybody else here, let's move on to the next part. I think that looks pretty cool. I mean, honestly, this looks fucking dope. This really does look cool. I'm gonna see, let me make a note here for myself. What is today? Today's fucking Wednesday. I'm writing on my little my large dry erase desk. Let's see here. A couple box check here. I'm gonna contact. I think I'm gonna try to get Brian on. He's a really good dude. He played the Crow with me. And I'll see if I can't get him on for Corpse Talk Aftermath, or After Hours, and see if I can't get him on to shoot the shit and kind of explain what this is all about. And maybe if I can get it to do a live demo, that would be really cool as well. This is cool. It's not a bad thing. I mean, the price is good. I wonder if there's there is a free thing in here. I just want to see what this looks like. I don't know if I have an account with it. Let me switch over. I do not. I do not have an account with it. Okay. Well, you sign up. Oh, I do have an account with it. Must be a different email? Huh. Well, I'll have to reset my password then. I'm curious to see what this is. I kind of want to do a quick look on screen here. Let's see what the chat is talking about while I'm doing this. Oh, hey, Kyle. What's up, buddy? I didn't know you showed up. Hi, man. Calling me names. How dare you? I'm not calling you any names. And it's not creepers. It's creeps. Serving hands. It's creeps. That's what Tales from the Crypts used to call people all the time. Serving hands. How has your day been? Off to an okay start. It's the weekend for me. Good for you. My week is just getting into the deep area. Very cold week so far. Yeah, dude, it was negative 28 yesterday when I was walking the dog. It's not super cold right now. I mean, okay, it's semi-cold, but not insanely cold. All right, so okay, they sent me a new passcode, so let me put this in. I must be on their email list, and that makes an account for me. Fun. All right, so here, I signed up. I want to see how this works. So there's a library. These are all the things that are here. So let's just see what this looks like. Subscribe. Okay, release this. Find a game. Where does this take you? Oh, this is cool. Look at this shit. Everyday Heroes has got a find a game section. That's actually really awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. New player guide. So this has like how to play Startup Smart. Is there anything else in here though? Let me just do my library. No items found. So I thought the free one gave you a vault access. Let's try this. Okay, so it looks like the table of contents is a wiki page. Let's just click one. Some loading times, man. I mean, this is cool that it's quickly searchable. It does work really well. No art in it because it's the free version. I wonder if the non-free version has art. let me make a note here for some things. I'd like to talk to CP about this. So let me 1, 2, 3. EG sidekick questions. Cool. I mean, I'll have to dig into this a little more. I'm not gonna do it here on air. We got other shit to do today, but this is pretty fucking cool. It's not bad. So the other thing I wanted to do is my buddy Sean Kelly has a YouTube channel. If you've not followed Sean on Gaming and BS, the old dude, the old Gaming and BS, this is a new video by him. Love his stuff. Love his stuff. And we're going to do a quick watch of this because I haven't had a chance to watch it. I'm not going to have a chance after this. This is longer than I thought it was going to be, but I'm fine with it. I kind of want to clip through and see what he's doing. He says, Outcast Raiders in 10 minutes. It's not 10 minutes, Sean. But let's see what it is. So Sean has put this out. We're going to make this wide. If you don't know RPG Sean, he was on Gaming and BS podcast with Brett for a long time. They just did their Gaming and BS con a couple of weeks ago, or actually last weekend. Really good dude, great creator. On Saturday mornings, if you're an early bird, he does shit at like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. every Saturday.
Talking about Outcast, Silver Raiders, or OSR.
How can you guys hear this all right?
10-minute overview. Hit the timer. Let's do it. Okay, Silver Raiders was crowdfunded in 2022 to the tune of 90,000.
Oh, you know what? Before we do this, hold on. Let me grab. So, before he dives into his review, let me just show you. You can hear it. This is Outcast Silver Raiders. I bought this, and I've talked about this on the show. I bought this at Gen Con 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It's an amazing box set. Everything's black, white, and red. It's a really gorgeous design set piece. He may open it up, so I'm not going to open it right now. If he doesn't, I'll open it and show you some of my favorite pieces in here. But this is a chonky boy. Like, this thing is fucking heavy. And it is all in one, and I'm excited. Like, look at here. I love the old red box for D&D. I think it's one of the best kept secrets to people who are new in D&D. But I am excited to like maybe dig in and really start running this just for like a year. Because I want this box to look beaten and worn. I want that non-clean feel you get with red as it like the edges wear on it shit over time. I want it to look like an artifact. And it's such a cool set piece, but this is occult medieval old school role playing. Came out in 2023. Fucking gorgeous. Hey Nick, what's up, buddy? I didn't see you came in. Okay, Arsenal done. What's Arsenal? What's Arsenal? Is Arsenal something good, Nick? I'm going to set this piece over here so that I can grab it if needed. Let's jump back in over here.
US. It was released in 2023, and in 2024 at the Annie Awards, it was nominated 3 times for Best Production Value, Best Setting, and Product of the Year. It's a game influenced heavily by OSR style of play. It's a medieval cult setting where the monotheistic church rules supreme.
Congrats.
The medicine is crude.
My line's choked.
Are rich and getting richer, and might makes right.
Football.
You play an
Football.
outcast that is in the search of silver. Hence, Outcast Silver Raider. As a matter of fact, we'll get into that in just a bit. But anyways, you could run the game in your own setting, but it has its own setting integrated into the game called The Mythic North. It's the actual largest book of the 3 hardcovers that come in a slipcase should you purchase the hardbacks. It also comes with a map of the Mythic North, double-sided, player and GM. The Mythic
Does this
North
have
book
a
is the
slipcase?
thickest, followed by the Referee's Compendium, and then the Player's Guide is the thinnest. You can get all three
think it has a
separately
slipcase.
on Drive-Thru RPG. Links down below. The Magic system, speaking of Magic, it's very low Magic. Magic is dangerous. It is taboo. It is secret, unknowable. The only class that can cast Magic is the Sorcerer class, and that is called Blood Magic.
Yep, it's dope.
There is also ritualistic magic that anyone can cast. There is a 20-section list in the Referee's Compendium that outlines all the different rites that can be casted as rituals.
I don't think this has a slipcase.
Speaking of magic, the Sorcerer can cast
This is a
blood
collector's
magic.
box.
The way that the Sorcerer does that is each Sorcerer has a ritualistic dagger, and they actually inflict damage upon themselves. So they cut themselves, divulging blood. They
no slipcase. Box
command
for me.
words.
So maybe there's
If
a
they
slipcase
cannot
too.
inflict damage upon themselves or go through
Like-
the semantic
on.
motions and verbal.
Hold on here. Like, I'm looking through this right now. Not fucking it up too much. So this is the book he's talking about. This is the big one, right? Like this. So, I mean, maybe? I just realized all the edges are silver on this. Huh. I don't know. This, though, is fucking dope. I love all this stuff. I'll have to look at it a little deeper. I really do want to run this, though. I want to find a group to play it in person. I just want to see if people will do it. I need some OSRGs to do it. Sort of lost interest in NFL a few years ago. Only maintained my soccer interest among all sports, mostly because I grew up. So, for me, the Lions have never made it to the Super Bowl, and we had a year to do it again this year, and I love our coach. I don't care about sports much either. I watch hockey once in a while, but I am a boxing fan because I used to box.
Motions. Semantic is this, verbal is this. If they can't orate or cut themselves, they cannot cast blood magic. So when they do that,
so your hands
they
are bound.
can determine how potent
That's
the
a
blood
really-
magic is.
that's
by
a really clean
sacrificing
way to
their
do
own
it.
hit points, up to 3. So the potency is up to 3 plus this sorcerer's level.
Okay.
Once they do that, they can choose to do one of 3 things. They can mend, aid, or rend. If they mend, they roll a d4 times the potency to heal the hit points of another person. If they aid, they give a potency bonus to a check before the check is made. So that doesn't make any sense. Give a potency bonus to a check before the check is
That
made.
doesn't make any sense. Sean, you should have cut this.
If they spend the potency, they can provide that amount of potency to a check that somebody is going to make. That's the aid. Ugh. Rend, potency times a d6. So if they spend up to 3 potency,
Okay.
they roll a d6 times that, which hits automatically
Okay.
as long as the target can see them. So that is a targeted, obviously, spell,
Okay.
inflicting that amount of damage. Other magic I mentioned is ritualistic in nature.
I like
There are
ritual
3
magic.
total classes.
Semi-hot take. I would love to write a low magic setting where ritual magic is the only magic in the game, and you can do like combined casting with other people. I think something like Cthulhu is a really good example of ritual magic, but I think an old medieval fantasy or even a modern or sci-fi would be really fucking cool, where only ritual casting is an option, but it gives you things that last longer time frames. The thing that made me think about this a lot is the old school, I should say old school. How do I want to phrase this to make it make sense? The thing that makes me think about rituals for magic a lot in tabletop RPGs is the idea that magic is powerful, but most spells last a short amount of time. And I think the idea of one or more people combining their efforts to make a spell cap it and giving you a long duration is super cool. And in Dragonbane, you get things like a stretch, which is a 15-minute, or a shift, which is 6 hours. And I think rituals should do something like that. I think that'd be a really cool concept.
I mentioned the sorcerer, then there is the rogue, and then there is the warrior. Each one is human-centric. It's a human-centric setting. There is alternate rules that I think in the referee's compendium, I believe, that allow you to maybe use other species. I'm not sure. But regardless, if you're looking for the Mythic North, it's all human-centric. Again, you play an outcast. Silver is how you level up. You get 1 experience point per silver piece.
Oh, so it's money to XP. I love money XP.
It's not...
Shadowdark changed my perspective.
If you get silver...
Really
slaying monsters does not count, okay, for XP, and tending bar does not count for obtaining XP and using it, or obtaining silver pieces using it for XP. It's got to be through adventuring. Each class has a base attack bonus.
Think about this. If money creates XP for characters, the idea of going out and exploring to find things and invest yourself in the world and decide if risk is worth it for money creates amazing adventures. Back in the day, we thought the idea of, gold for XP was too much tracking, but really what it did is it eliminate the combat monster style of play. And I think it coming back in Shadowdark was a genius thing to do. Seeing it in Silver Raiders, also very awesome. Now, we're going to work on the Dungeon Chef today. Could you imagine an adventure where your XP only comes from collecting ingredients and cooking meals? Or maybe even cooking meals and making a carousing table for cooking. Like something like that. Could you imagine if that's the only way you got XP in a dungeon delving game? That might be a good new mode of play for Shadowdark. Note to self, Eric, create a mode of play that is cooking and that is chefing, and chefing it only gives you XP. It's the only way to get XP is a mode of play. That, chili cook-offs, dungeon monster cook-offs, dragon cook-offs, there is something there, and I think I'm going to have to do something with that. Anyway.
Hit points, or die type for hit points, saving throw bonuses, and their own skill list. And then something specific to the class. For example, I already mentioned blood magic for the sorcerer.
100% writing that down.
That's the only special thing that they get, but that one special thing gives them 3 options. For rogue, it's luck. Pool of luck points, so each session the rogue rolls a 1d4 at first level and at the beginning of each session, and those points
there you go, Nick.
Allows the rogue to re-roll.
Nick just said that I did something similar for a god where he awards boons for monster trophies. Sacrifice them. Exactly, dude. Boons is a way to get experience in Shadowdark. Yeah. Oh, speaking of chili cook-offs, Rick from Storyteller's Forge on Sunday in Chicago is going to be at Miskatonic Brewery for a chili cook-off and then running games. I may try to go down this Sunday depending on weather and say hi, but fuck me, that sounds like a shit ton of fun.
Check or a save. Any luck points that are unused are gone at the end of the session, and any that are spent are gone for the session.
Yeah.
Next session, you get to reroll the 1d4 again. Sneak attack. They can add twice their stealth modifier on the first attack roll versus a target. If it hits, it deals ×1 plus level of damage, and then after rolling damage and applying modifiers.
Okay.
So in addition to. The warrior gets combat reflexes. What that means is it's basically kind of an advantage roll for initiative. They roll twice for initiative and they take the result of the result of their choice. They don't have to take the best one. And if there is a tie, they win all ties. They also have battle intuition, which means that once per watch, they can perform either a mighty blow or a miraculous escape. A mighty blow is an auto hit. It is plus level for damage on top of everything else. The miraculous escape is against a single target. So if the attack would actually hit the warrior, it misses them. But they must declare it before any rolls. They all share the same experience point table.
Okay.
All right. Moving.
You got 3 minutes left, Sean.
For abilities: strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma. They have them in a different order, but that's how I remember them. You roll 3d6 down the line. If you add up all the modifiers of your abilities and the total is less than 0, that PC or your soon-to-be character sibling has died before being able to adventure. Roll up another one, do the same thing until you get a character that has a positive modifier overall when you add them all up. If you get too many of those siblings that pass away, they'll have adverse mental conditions.
Okay.
It may take a toll on your player character having to, deal with all that guilt.
What did you say, bud? It gives off a monster hunting some values and makes elements worth trading. Yeah, so what I found out running last season of ETHAUNTIA, I have monster part cards where they could use them to craft. And I still had gold in the game. And what I've learned through running post-apocalypse games alongside games with other currency is you have to ditch the other currency. You have to only use monster parts or gold. You can't use both. And the reason I say that is players will not as easily invest in using the new currency as part of the game if the other currency that they're used to exists. A really good example of this is Fallout. It's bottle caps. That's what you're using. Or in some of the post-apocalyptic worlds from Rob Schwab, it's bullets. You have to make them invest in your currency you want them to use. If you use anything else, you just run into problems every single time. So if you're going to run a tabletop RPG and you want to use some form of new currency, such as dungeon parts or monster parts or whatever, maybe you trade air because it's Spaceballs. Make sure that you are making the players invest that by cutting the other form of money away.
Once your player character survives their growing up years, you can change out 2 ability scores.
Oh, I like that.
And then you commence play. Checks in Outcast Silver Raiders includes
exactly serving hands. Even though they know, but they just don't. As far as
overall mechanics at the forefront of Outcast Silver Raiders. Checks and saving throws. Checks are typically related to the skill checks. Okay. It's a D6 plus your any modifier.
Okay.
If you score a 6 or higher,
2 minutes left, Sean.
Succeed. If you have no chance of failing, you have to roll 2d6, and you will fail should you roll 2 1s or snake eyes.
Well, that's very different.
If you have no chance in succeeding.
There's another game I played where your stats, Dragonbane age changes your stats. It might be in Mythic Bastion lands as you age. That's what it is. You re-roll your D6 plus D12 for your stats every time you age up. It's pretty cool.
You roll 2d6. If you roll 2 6s or boxcars, you miraculously succeed against all odds.
Yeah, that's different for sure, Nick. That's a very different situation. You're basically saying for worshiping your god, it's a boon for you. You're making a small system mechanic for that player. I'm talking specifically about when there is a vast resource in the area that you're playing and your players don't invest themselves in it. So like I had monster parts in my game and Streamloot cards for it, and I found that my cast wasn't investing themselves in using the monster part for anything because monster parts were the same as gold. So there's something inherently weird about giving players the ability to do things like upgrade your ship So like right now, our main base of operations in ETHAUNTIA Superstitions Wanted is the Angler's Lyre. And gold can only be spent from Streamloot cards to upgrade their ship. Now, thankfully, I have somebody on the show who's a mechanic in real life and really wants to invest in upping the ship and what it can do. And what you're talking about is an exact example of that. Like the player is invested. But it's really weird, man. Like I run into a problem as a GM. And actually, this is probably something I should do a video on at some point. When I am running games, I find that players are only invested in the game nowadays when they're at the table. There's too many other things in our life that seem to take a hold of us. And tabletop is only tabletop when you're playing tabletop. And that becomes a problem for a GM because when you go to prep a session or prep fucking anything for the game, and you ask your players, hey, over the week, do XYZ, which could be like 15 minutes or something, they don't tell you to the day before. No matter how many times you remind them, or the day of. So when you have these other forms of money and currency in games, I keep running into this fucking problem. It's frustrating to say the least. So I don't know. I think I might do a video on it. I had a podcast back in the day called EFP, and I think I might resurrect some of those topics and do them in video format. They're kind of like a video essay that I have for some shit. But anyway, I do agree with you, Nick. I think, makes that one player feel special because they have their own unique thing. Yes, I agree. If they're invested, getting a player invested, even if it's based around their character, becomes problems. Especially like when I had a character who was a swashbuckler and a duelist, and I kept trying to give him options to duel things, they sometimes would take them and sometimes they wouldn't. I'm trying it again this time because Allie's character in Wanted is a gunslinger. And we just had our first like gunslinger showdown, and she was dead and got her new talent to shoot from down. And it was a great moment on screen. But getting a player to invest in their own mechanics is weird. And I also have maybe it's a hang up for me, but I think Deckers and what are they called in Cyberpunk? Deckers and edge runners, people who do cyberspace stuff. The idea of them having their own mini game and it taking away from the game for everybody else, like enough to where, like, if you played Shadowrun back in the day and a Decker was going to do their job, everyone left and got fucking lunch. That's not good design. If it can't inherently be played with the rest of the system, you're like, hey, everybody, I'm going to run this decking for a fucking hour and a half, and we both know the rules. That becomes a problem. I like the new Cyberpunk version a lot more, but I guess I have, like, PTSD from Deckers and Shadowrun, and whenever time I add a new mechanic to a system, I'm like, fuck me. This is going to ruin everything. Maybe I'm wrong.
Combat. No, let's get into saving throws. Saving throws are based on the ability and the ability modifier. So it's give me a strength save, a dex save, a con save. So you roll a d10 and add the modifier. If you roll a 10 or higher, then you succeed. A natural 10 automatically succeeds. A natural 1 automatically fails. It does not follow the same impossible to fail, impossible to succeed rule as skill checks.
Okay.
In combat, all right, combat breaks out. Pretty typical fantasy tabletop role-playing games. Combat.
That's a good point, initiative. We'll talk about that. He's got 58 seconds.
Basically a dex save.
See if he can do this.
It's a dex. Your dex modifier plus your d10 roll. That's based individually.
I wonder if he's going to run this
initiative, and then that order is maintained through the entirety of the combat scene. The actions include combat actions, movement actions, and free actions. You can use a move and a combat, or a combat and a move, but you cannot break up one or the other.
Okay.
Let's see. Movement actions include aim, drop prone, hold action, mention move, stand up. Then attack actions include attack, disengage, draw
6
a weapon,
seconds.
run, whatever, pick up object,
2,
throw object.
1.
There are
Out of
attacks of
time.
opportunities in Outcast Silver
Okay.
Raiders.
Oh
The
my
minute
God.
Your character
He added
or
another
a
timer
non-player
that counts
character
up.
moves
You
their
son
focus
of a
away and
bitch.
you are in melee. That provokes an attack of opportunity. There is no limits.
Okay,
There are
Sean,
no
I see
limits
you.
to the amount of attacks of opportunity.
All right. I'm going to finish watching this video on my own. I wanted to give him the 10 minutes of airtime. I do really want to watch the rest of this. I'm not going to do it live today. I am curious how he broke it down. So there's combat. PC health is next. Rolling replacement PCs, which is actually really cool in Outcast. What is this? Scarcity checks, and then time tracking, and then other rules. Sean, I will watch the rest of this off air, but I'm curious to see if you're going to run this, to be honest with you. I think this could be pretty fun if you do decide to run this. So, with that, everybody, before we dive into our dungeon chef, because we got about, I'm going to end the stream at 5 today. I got some other things I got to do, but I want to show you what I've done, what the goal is, and what we're going to set up, along with a couple other things. Serving Hands, you put a really good thing on up in chat for this. I almost wonder if PCs have become used to ready-made game scenarios that they forget there's a human foundation to the story. It's not as easy as starting up a video game. Look, video games have done a couple things. It's done good and bad. I think that video games have trained players to understand core mechanics for games easier a lot of times. What players don't do is exactly what Nick has put up here. I think too many players don't read for fun, and their creativity doesn't develop as much as a result, because I find the weakest creatives at the table are younger, but like post-high school. Okay, so I do think reading comprehension helps a lot with creative design and like reading books. With that said, I don't read much anymore. For me, it is a time thing. I don't have time to sit down and read novels like I used to. Now, I used to consume numerous books. I would read 1 to 2 a month on average. And that means I was reading somewhere between 12 to 18, like big books a year. Now, I still read short ones, and I do read game books. But for me, I think I consume a lot of creativity through videos of like movies and TV shows. And I take a lot of notes. I'm a very kind of organized person for thoughts. I also find that if I don't brain dump at the end of the night before I go to bed, my insomnia kicks in and I end up having to design fucking random pieces of shit that's stuck in my head. Also why I got a huge dry erase table, because I knew that I would not ever write down my notes if I didn't have an area to quickly access. It's also why I still use a lot of physical notes. I feel that if I just do digital, my brain doesn't act like I've gotten rid of it. With that said, where I see creativity problems the most is people, and this I think is even more than writing, that are not, as kids, forced to go out and create entertainment for themselves. This is the area where I've seen a lot of problems in running games at conventions. Now, I'm gonna be 100% clear. I don't run a lot of children. I don't have kids. My brother and I are 8 years apart. I help raise him. But I don't run kids because I think it's weird when an adult is running kids, but they don't have kids, because there's just this weird superstition and shit like that at the table. Now, if it's a friend and a friend wants me to run their kids, that is a different story. I'll absolutely do that. But I've noticed running them, because I do run into it at conventions. I just ran kids at this last convention, that unless they are kids that go out and play and do things, they don't know how to create things a lot of times. They lose that creativity bug. If they don't have to create fun for themselves. You know what I mean? I don't know if I agree with that, Nick. I don't think not reading causes you to not do heavy lifting. So, and this is as a creative. When I watch a show, my brain sees something on the screen, have it be whatever the cinema or TV show I'm watching is. And my brain is like, how can I run something in this amazing universe? How can I make this my own? Or, oh my God, this shot is amazing. It's such a great setup to verbally explain to somebody what something looks like, because media is consumed enough to where if I talk about sweeping shots and framing a TTRPG, because we're obviously talking about tabletop gaming, if I am framing a scene and I do it in a way in a show that is currently popular, it gives me another way to have a language between us to break barriers of understanding. For kids and for adults that don't understand how to be creative, I think that, like I said before, not learning to entertain yourself starts a lot of that from my personal experience. I do think reading helps. Don't get me wrong. I think reading books helps you be creative because you have to imagine stuff. And I do believe your imagination is somewhat stunted if you are not doing non-visual activities. I also think writing for yourself. I also think tabletop as a whole is a great way to learn to be imaginative and creative. Like, think of it this way. If you want a kid to learn how to be creative, you give them an activity that requires them to write, draw, or create something. I've seen a lot of kids become really creative, and adults, honestly, because of games like Minecraft. While it is a different creativity, it is a toolkit for them to be able to be creative. Growing up, my friend played JRPG Maker all the time, and it made him so creative that he works in the video game industry now. There are numerous roads to creativity. My problem is when you are only consuming and not creating. If you want to be a good GM or a good player, create stuff. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you're a woodworker, a metalsmith, a wordsmith, artist. If you're somebody who reads books and creates fanfic, or watches TV shows and creates fanfic. Creating something from your imagination and from things you consume, that makes you a creative. And I think everyone at their core is a creative in some form or fashion. What I don't think happens enough is people who only consume but never talk about it or discuss it or have creative conversations with others about what they are consuming. And again, this could be anything. I even think someone who watches sports all the time, the person who lives with me, my significant other, she is a gigantic sport fan. And I see creativity in her as soon as they start talking about sports and why certain things are being done, drafts, all that kind of stuff, because you're consuming and talking about something you're passionate about. There's creativity in that. Bottom line, if you want to see creativity, just ask somebody what they love and enjoy and how they would do things different or what they think would be amazing for it. And if you want to see a sport person, eyes light up. Ask them about their favorite jerseys or something that they're wearing, and ask if there is a piece of logo or branding that they really love, or if there's one they would like to see different. Because man, real fans have their favorites. They have their favorite fucking logos. You'll see creativity happen, and it's a good way to start creative conversations. But anyway, I digress. That wasn't the point of today. Today we're going to be going into some design work. I've been working pretty hard on a product coming out. Crawlers Volume 1 is going to be 3 classes, gear, maybe a short adventure or at least a spark table to create your own adventures, and then I think a couple monsters. So today we're going to look at the Dungeon Chef, decide what needs to be added, and go over what I've kind of changed and edited, and see what you guys all think. If you don't know, we had a Dungeon Chef on our show, and the Dungeon Chef was really entertaining. So we're going to talk over it, and then I'm going to spend the last 10 minutes to do a recording about this piece. So I've been doing a lot of design work in Canva, man, and every time I do it, it fucking makes me happy. I'm not going to lie. There's something about creating in Canva that has just been like flick of the wrist, easy to do. So Crawlers Volume 1, this is just where the cover is going to go when I make it, and I just labeled it to remind myself. These art pieces will get replaced. I put the Dungeon Chef in here, and I've added cooking walks because my brain thinks of a walk for it, but I like the handles. I think they look good in the design. But honestly, I think the cooking walk would probably be a pot handles like this, because I've added some gear into here as well. So crawls are harsh, and I had dungeons here originally. But since this is specifically aimed at Shadowdark, I wanted to keep some of the verbiage the same. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see what it looks like, and I'm going to zoom back in, and I'm going to hit Shift-R to get rid of the lines so I can just read it. So crawls are harsh, and a space is limited for weapons, gear, and food. Dungeon chefs excel at turning monsters into meals, ensuring the party is well-fed and ready for any challenge. Their Crawler Cookbook is an evolving resource filled with recipes that provide tactical advantages. So that's my write-up kind of for what the Dungeon Chef is. They get dagger, chef knife, which I just noticed I accidentally chopped the E off this. See what happens? This is why you do this shit. Hand axe, hand crossbow, and pan. My thoughts on the weapons are simple. Dagger is durable. I think they would have one. A chef knife is great. It's sharp. You need it to do things. But the chef knife currently doesn't do that much damage. But I wanted it to be a weapon that they can use. I may take dagger away and change the chef knife up. Hand axe because you got to chop firewood. Hand crossbow because I wanted them to be able to hunt, but I didn't want them to be able to use a normal crossbow, and I wanted something that was small for like hunting rabbits and small game. And a pan because it does damage and can be used as a shield. Leather armor because I assume them holding like gear in their apron, and as a chef you always wear an apron to keep your clothes clean. Yeah, you could do but the chef knife is that. It's any of those things. That's why I did a chef knife. It's all purpose. And honestly, as someone who cooks every day, worked professionally in kitchens and in restaurants for 30 years, you only need 3 knives. And there are special knives to do specialized things, but a chef knife covers them, right? Covers them. We'll get into the gear at the end. D6 hit points, because I don't want them to have a lot of hit points, but they have to battle monsters, so they can't have a D4. They're not a mage. Languages, 2 additional common languages and 1 rare. I see them finding recipes in other languages, so them needing extra languages. And then I just added this last night. You use 2 torches to make a campfire. 3 is traditional, but I wanted them to be able to make fire easier instead of using 3 torches. And I feel like it's a really good, like chopping a torch away makes it feel like they're not using all the resources. I also feel that if you need a fire to cook, the last thing I want to do in a game that is so based on light is to take away all the light from the party. I thought it was a good idea to do it, and I thought about adding a chef's talent down here, adding 1 torch instead, or the ability to make torches, but I didn't. I left it like it was. I think it's good enough. Dungeon Cookbook. You can cook a recipe from your Crawler Cookbook using a campfire. Pick a recipe from your book, or make a meal that counts as eating for the day. You must have a dungeon monster to cook. Notice I didn't specify size or anything like that. Meals last 1 day. You start with 1 recipe. Roll. A dungeon cooking increases the chance of an encounter to a 2 in 6 result. Normally in Shadowdark, it's a 1 in 6, but I think the idea of smoke and good smelling food attracts people, and it doesn't have to be bad. Remember, encounters don't have to be combat. In Shadowdark, you're rolling distance and hostility. 2 torch and a rock spork. Funny. Meal prep. You know how to prep, field dress, and clean monsters to be safe to eat. It used to say be safe to eat most of the time. I cut it out because the verbiage is really clean in Shadowdark, and I didn't want to add that. I think in Adventure, I might add something like that. You can turn a dungeon monster into rations. Small monsters and up can always provide food for your party. Making 4 rations requires a IDC 12 and takes 1 game session on your drying rack. Now, the problem I'm running into is right here is the visual space. I may have to bump this down a touch, or I need to cut a line from here or here. And I haven't decided how I want to do it. And I've already chopped this down a lot, right? So I don't know what I'm going to do to, I moved Fire Specialist to its own thing. It used to be part of this. I don't know what I'm going to do to chop this down more. I might just put, you know how to field dress and clean monsters. Or I might put, you know how to prep and field dress monsters. I don't think you need clean. I think actually prep and field dress handles it. So I cut some out. I don't think dungeon monsters needs to be here. I could probably cut out dungeon. You can turn monsters into rations. Small monsters and up always provide food for your party. Because I don't want tiny monsters too. It doesn't make sense. Making 4 rations requires an IDC 12 and generates 1 game. It takes 1 game session on a drying rack. So, what do you consider the ability? Wait, what was this question, Nick? What do you consider the ability in Dungeon Cook? The ability to cook monsters? What do you consider? Oh, you mean the actual ability? What is it? It's the recipe book that you get. So you get a crawler cookbook that you roll on, which we'll get to in a minute. You can see here. If I scroll down, this is going to be an art page, right? But the crawler cookbook has a table to roll for special abilities. If that's what, is that what you're asking, Nick? Just so I can clarify it. Someone also said, maybe after making certain meals, the residue on a knife can leave some poison effect. I thought about that. I think actually, I think the chef's knife is going to have a higher crit range, but also needs to be sharpened after recombat or something like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking, because a chef's knife has to be sharpened all the time. A dagger does not. So I'm thinking about after every combat, the knife having to be sharpened. I have some ideas. I just haven't finalized it yet because I don't want to get too detailed. Yeah, I agree. I agree that that's the area I would edit the most here. And I've already cut a lot out. The problem you run into is people have to understand they're picking a recipe, right? And I want to keep the dungeon cooking increases the chance of an encounter. I thought about taking this and moving it below the table. And that would give a fuck ton of space. So that's number one I thought about doing. Or I wanted to put this. I wanted to put that. Just put increase the chance of an encounter result for 2 and 6. But you need to explain to them while it's cooking because they won't do it. So that's why I added this. Right? I must have a dungeon monster to cook. Meals last 1 day. So I guess I could cut this. Meals last 1 day. But what I don't want players to think they can do is... I don't want players to think they can cook like a shit ton of meals, stockpile them like they have a fucking refrigerator, and carry them around. So that's why I put meals last 1 day. You can cook a dungeon monster using the recipe from your crawler cookbook using a campfire. Then delete that line later. Do I have it duplicated? Am I missing that? Where do I have it twice? You can cook. Oh, in the beginning. I see what you're saying. You can cook. You can cook a dungeon monster. Yeah, but don't you want to tell? Yeah. I guess that might work. Hold on. Let me edit it. Let's just see what happens. I'm gonna cut this just so I have it, just in case, right? And we'll go like this. I agree. I see what you're saying. So you can cook a dungeon monster using a recipe from your crawler. I mean your caps. Using a campfire. Campfire. So what am I deleting? I guess is my question to you. Because right now, that made it larger. This didn't shorten anything. So what are you asking me to delete as well? See what I'm saying? Is that shorter? You can cook a recipe from your crawler cookbook on a campfire. Pick a recipe. Oh, you know what I can do? Actually, this. Pick a recipe. Pick a recipe or make a meal that counts as eating for the day. You must have a dungeon monster to cook. Meals last 1 day. You start with 1 recipe. That fixes it. What if we just do that? Bump this up, matching the distances. Boom. Right? So let's read it out loud. Dungeon cook. You can cook a recipe from your crawler cookbook on a campfire. Pick a recipe or make a meal that counts as eating for the day. Or make a meal. Oh, it should be pick a recipe or make a meal. Make a meal. This should be this counts. This counts as eating for the day. You must have a dungeon monster to cook. Meals last 1 day. You start with 1 recipe, roll. Dungeon cooking increases the chance of an encounter, result to 2 in 6. Meal prep. You know how to prep and field dress monsters to be safe to eat. You can turn monsters into rations. Small monsters and up always provide food for your party. Making 4 rations requires an IDC 12 and takes 1 game session on a drying rack. So, I think that's pretty clean. Dungeon Chef talents. 2d6, 2 duplicate equals reroll. The reason I put that is you can get duplicates, and I'm fine with some of them having duplicates. If you get a 2, you can remove poison using that monster part. I'm going to remove, I said poison, I'm going to say remove monster effect. A condition, effect. Effect. Effect, effect. Effect, right? Monster condition? What do they call them? Do they call them conditions? What is like poison, curse? What is all that shit called in Shadowdark? Is it affliction? I honestly don't remember. Do they have, like, in 5e they're called conditions. But I don't think they call them conditions in Shadowdark. They call them something else. And I don't fucking remember what it is. Right, yeah. I want to know. No, it needs to be short. The goal is less words. but succinct. Let me look at monsters really quick. I think they're just called effects, aren't they, Nick? It doesn't have. Remove lasting effects. You can remove lasting effects using that monster's parts. That makes sense, right? Poison. I think that works. Let's see here. You roll an additional recipe on the crawler book table, 3 to 6. Strength, dex, int, stat, or +1 to melee. Gain an additional use of your meal prep. Oh, fuck. I don't have meal prep for once a day. Should I should probably put that meal prep as once a day. Or does it even need a daily allotment? Can I should I ditch the meal? Because it used to have once per day. And I can add it just right here. Yeah. So meal prep, you know how to prep and field dress monsters to be safe to eat. You can turn monsters into rations. Small monsters and up always provide food for your party. Making 4 rations requires an IDC 12 and takes 1 game session on your drying rack. I don't think there should be a day allotment. Because the time you're really telling them... Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. These all need to be locked positions. I must have unlocked them editing shit earlier. So I don't want to be able to move them. You know what I mean? Anyway. I'm trying to figure out if I should... Did not mean to unlock all these. True. Should I just put once per day here? Like this? Or I think actually the info should be here. Like that. I feel like the effect should be at the top, right in front of you. Don't you? I think that's where it goes. So that gives you an additional use. 10 to 11. And choose a talent. I'm just trying to think of where the format always is. I like keeping... If they're trained to read a certain way in here for an ability, I like to keep that formatting so that you are not retraining people. That's not the kind of formatting I like breaking. You know what I'm saying? I don't think any of the core rulebook has once a day abilities. I think... Well, hold on here. We can check this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me go to here. And I have... Curse Scroll open because I feel like Curse Scroll has... Doesn't one of these classes have X per day? Yeah, right here. Boom. So for us, once per day, you know how to prep. There you go. All right, problem solved. Perfect. Perfect. Flawless victory. I like that a lot, actually. So, I like these abilities. I think overall this is a pretty good set. Yeah, I do too, Nick. I think that's where it started. So, you can remove Elastic Effect using that monster's parts. Roll an additional recipe on a crawler book table. +2 to stat, dex, int stat, or +1 melee. Gain an additional use of your meal prep, or on a 12, choose a talent or 2 points to distribute to stats. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a good set. Now, a lot of times I like replacing the 12 with something else. And I thought about taking 12 and making Fire Specialist 1 torch. Or, yeah, like 1 torch, so you're not wasting as many. Like, what do you guys think? Do you want to be able to choose one of these talents, letting them, you know, get extra recipes and stuff like that on a 12? I think that's good, actually. I think I'm going to keep the 12. So this is going to be the art when I get it, and I think I'm going to put some information up here. I'm not positive if that's going to stay there or not. It's just kind of a placeholder. So right now, crawler book, right? So here's the powers, and I like all of these, and I feel like they're good enough that a GM can learn to make their own recipe pieces afterwards. You may reroll duplicates or gain an extra serving, which I think is dope. I like the Fire Specialist as 1 torch is good for 2. Instead of this, do you think this should just be a recipe? Because down here, let's go through these. I don't think that's a bad idea, Nick. I think maybe is 2 making the Fire Specialist 1 torch instead of 2 is not a bad idea. Because let's go through these and see if maybe we can put something in here. Fearless Monster Fritters, advantage on the first. So first off, you can tell I wrote this a while ago. ADV. Well, it's not part of meal prep. Because meal prep is something else. Dungeon cook, it would be a recipe, I think. So I agree. You know what? We're going to do this. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to place it over here. And then I'm going to do this instead. Make a campfire using 1 torch. And then I'm going to put roll. What does she put? Can be only rolled once? How does that work? She has a thing in one of hers where it's like, re-roll if you roll this. Do you remember what it's called? One of them gets like a, you don't get to roll this again. It's like re-roll if rolled or something like that. I don't remember which curse scroll it was. Do you? Hold on here. I want to pull up one of the other curse scrolls. It's in one of the curse scrolls. Yeah, it is reroll duplicates in here. She puts it here, right? Is it capped? Like this? Reroll duplicate. I think it's singular. Because I don't want that to be rerolled because it can't go to more than 1 torch. You know what I'm saying? I just want to double check it. Let me go to the curse scrolls. I have them all in here. Let's open up 2 and 3. We'll open them. Let's check really quick. Pull the PDF up. I don't remember if it was in this one. She rarely caps. I thought that was one of the ones that do, though. Let's go to Pit Fighter. I've never seen him play Pit Fighter yet, by the way. Also, Pit Fighter's one of the only ones. Hold on here. Did I fucking pass it? Oh, it's Pit Fighting. Here we go. Because she has this. 2 duplicate equals additional use per day. And I know she put some in that, but there's one where it's in the actual talent line. Can't remember where the fuck I saw it at. Saw it in this one. Is it in this one, maybe? Is it Seawolf, maybe? Might have been Seawolf. No, not in Seawolf. All right, so it's going to be an EFP ruling instead. So we're not following format. I think it makes sense just to say reroll duplicate, right? Like this, boom, reroll duplicates. And then they just know for number 2 you reroll because you can't get more than 1. That works for me. All right, so let's go through these now. Dungeon Chef. Let's go through the... It's the Thief class. Is that what it is? Is it for backstab? Reroll if duplicate. Aha! If duplicate. Thanks, Nick. Thank you. I knew it was in one of them. I'm not crazy. How your brain remembers this shit? You know what I mean? It's amazing. Like a designer's brain after doing it for so long, shit just gets locked in after a while. All right. So let's go through these and we'll kind of do some stuff on these. I do like bolding this. Do you like... I like when this part is bolded. Personally. You know what I mean? Like that. I love that. And I think I'm going to keep it that way. Right? So let's bold all these. And then we'll go through what they do. And we'll see if we can't make some other stuff. I also have a table that I'm making to roll like recipe names. Also, this is just me. Boom. That should be an ampersand. And I'm making a table. It's not done yet. I've been looking at a bunch of recipes that I have. And I want to make sure that I'm not fucking it up. It's the new John Carpenter style horror one. I always bold mechanics. I like the name bold. I've started underlining abbreviations for effects. Yeah, I don't like underlines in tables though. At all. I think it looks goofy every time. All right, so Fearless Monster Fritters advantage on. Did you said mechanics somewhere? Did I put mechanics wrong somewhere, Nick? Oh, I see. You're commenting on your own thing. So first off, innate power manifestation table. This is a leftover. This is the first thing I noticed. This should be, shit, what is it? Crawler book? A crawler. What do we call it up here? We want to use the same words. Crawler cookbook recipes. Crawler cookbook recipes table. Boom. I think that's right. Isn't that what we said it was? Recipe. Recipes. Okay. Details. You may reroll duplicates or gain an extra serving. Because remember, it only serves 4. And your goal is to, if you have 5 in your party, you can serve 5 instead. So, Fearless Monster Fritters. Advantage on the first fear check for the day using monster that causes fear. So, I like the idea of something that causes fear and like you kill it in advance to do it. But I kind of wonder if it's going to make it too limiting. If it should just be, you know how to make it out of any monster. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if this extra piece makes this almost useless. Or if the specificity helps make it feel good. That's my main question about that one. I like it. I think if you're fighting monsters that cause fear all the time, you learning to cook those monsters when they're around makes the most sense. And it can be any monster that causes fear. A lot. A fucking lot. I don't remember what the total amount was. Here, I can tell you. Hold on. I have notes. Let's see here. Give me a sec. I'll let you know. I'm having Nero analyze the book for me and pull up all the times fear is mentioned in monsters. So, I don't know. I like it. I agree. So, mana soup, +1 to spell. Oh, let me see here. Try that again. So, spellcasting checks for the day using spellcasting monster parts. Right? Cool. Rejuvenating stew. One person gains an extra use of a per day usability. Use of a per day. This should say use ability. Per day use ability. Skewered glaze monster. One person immune to the element of monster used for the day. One person immune to the element of a monster used for the day. So this is letting you know of monster cooked. One person immune to the element of monster cooked for the day. So like if it shoots lightning, you cook it, you get lightning immunity. Candied food, grant one luck for the day. Monster parts are required. Doesn't matter what it is. Monster sushi provides a +1 attack versus monster used for 1 day. Rice and monster, filling food, granting 5 extra hit points for the day. Marinated grilled monster, gave +1 to stat save of choice for the day. Pickled honey monster, advantage on save versus disease or illness. And this shouldn't be save. That's the wrong word. Advantage on check versus disease or illness. Hearty eggs and monster sausage. Stronger for the day. Increase bulk by 1. I thought about making this 2. I feel like 1's a little low. But 1 inventory slot's a lot. And if everyone in your party gets it, 4 people in your party gets it, that's 4 more inventory slots amongst a party. No, 1's good. Smoke, and if you get it again, it could be 5 people. Smoked monster with sauce, immune to 1 ability from the same monster used. And down here I have extra use of meal prep or double effect of crawler cookbook recipe you already have. What I'm thinking about doing for this instead, and I feel like this is a good idea, is what if 12 is you can make a ration of it instead. Like, what if instead of extra use of meal prep, it should be create a ration or double the effect of one crawler book recipe you already have. Think about that. That means you can make a dried ration of that creature and have that effect. So you can make a dried ration of something that removes fear so they can eat that when they're in the field. Hold on a second. I'm going to grab something while you guys are looking over that. Cat wanted to come in the room and I didn't realize the door blew shut. What do you guys think? I think the idea of this being replaced to create a ration instead of extra use of meal prep, I think it should be create a ration or double the effect of a crawler book recipe you already have. I think that's amazing. So next, after all of this, is our dungeon, our chef gear. Now, I want to talk about something. So in like the cursed scrolls and stuff like that, they take all of their gear and put it at the end. But when somebody is making a character, I feel like having the gear next to the character is better. So I'm trying it for this one. Nick, you may have an opinion on this. I like having the gear right after the class because a lot of the times gear is specific to a character class. And a lot of gear can't be used by other classes. And I think it's ridiculous that all of the gear goes in one section. Now, if this was a splat book for just gear, that would be different. But this is a crawler volume with 3 classes in it. I feel like it makes more sense to put the gear right after the class. So let me show you why I say that. So right now, it goes cover. Let's zoom out a little bit. It goes cover, class specifics, artwork of class, crawler book, chef gear, right? And then we have cyanide information, manifestations, psi enhancers, psi gear. And then it'll go into the Lancer will be in between these. It'll go Dungeon Chef Lancer and then the psi mishap table. And then there'll be ancestries. So the ancestries will get bumped to the front. Like I'll move them. And then it'll go Dungeon Chef, Lancer, Cyanide. I mean, don't you feel like it makes more sense to have it right next to the class instead of collected? Because so let's look at the chef gear, for example. Nobody else is buying a drying rack because they can't fucking use it. Because you got to be able to create rations. So we have a drying rack, 1 gold, 1 gear slot, and I think this actually should say can hold up to 10 drying rations at a time for 1 slot. It takes 1 game session to dry them. Exactly, man. Also, next, chef knife, 2 gold, melee and ranged, close near, 1d3 damage, and then this is F and TH. So this is finesse and throwing. Now, I'm tempted to make a ability called Sharp, where Sharp is crit at 1920, but it becomes dull after one combat. And you have to sharpen it. But that means I would have to make rules for sharpening. But I like the idea of this not just being a fucking dagger. So what if it was a D3? What if it was a D6/D3? Right? And we made the sharp condition. And then when it's dull, it does a D3 instead. And you have to sharpen it. I think that's a great ability to make this different. How are we going to call sharp? Edged? Edged? Honed? Honed. Honed. So now, right? Let me duplicate. Actually, I can just do this. Now, because SH is the shield one, I don't want to do SH twice. It'd be HO, right? Because isn't H for hands in Shadowdark, if I remember correctly? And I like being able to say ho. So, deals more damage. Starts sharp and dulls after one combat. Must make Dex DC 12 to sharpen. To regain edge. Oh. Right. So let me move these down. And this might give me a reason to get rid of this art piece, but we'll see. But I like this, right? I think this has a good feel to it. I'm trying to think of how I want to format it. If I want this to be a different size, I like when the features are in italics a lot of times because they're easier. Maybe it should be... No, not... I don't think I would do the 1920 crit. I think I might just do the extra damage. What do you think? Just do the 1d6 or a d3. Like, what's a dagger do? What's a dagger's damage? Hold on. Dagger's a d4, so this is perfect. It does more than a dagger. But as soon as it's done, it gets damage. It does less than a dagger. I think that's a fun mechanic. You do one combat of a d6, and if you don't hone it in between, you're fucked. I just imagine the chef sitting in like a campsite with like a ceramic mug or a whetstone and sharpening it to get the damage back, you know, to field dress and do all that shit, instead of making it a 19 or 20. The crit I have on scythes. It's coming out in something else. Here, I'll show you. I can't show you everything because it's an NDA project, but it is coming out. It is under a new class. Here. Wounding is what it's called. And then these have wounding, and then there's more gear coming out that is a crit version. I'm not showing anything else. I just showed that it is a secret. So wounding on a critical hit deals D4 bleed. And then the other one is puncture, which is 1920. Right? Use it though, man. It's called puncture, just so you know. Weapon crits on a 1920. I put it on piercing weapons. But I like honed. I mean, I guess I could change honed into 1920 instead. But critting with a D3 doesn't feel good. And to me, a chef's knife is something that takes damage, and you have to keep sharpening it. But yeah, Nick, it is one I have. I'm stealing the crit thing then. You could use it, man. No, I'm not stealing it. Those are called keen in the old days. Keen was the word in 5e. I would do the same thing as the honed. I mean, I guess I could do honed and do like this. The other option is honed, 19 to 20 crit, must take a DC 12 to regain edge after combat. For one combat. Search, honed has starts 19 to 20 crit for one combat. So it should be has a 19 to 20 crit for one combat. Let's make a DC 12 dexterity. Must make a DC 12 check after. Sorry. Must make a DC 12 check to sharpen, to regain edge. To regain honed. Like that. That's what I would do. I mean, I guess that works. I just don't think I want a D3 for the chef's knife thing. I feel like a D3 just sucks. Don't you? Like, I don't want to roll a D3. Do I just make it a D6? Does it do more than a dagger? Does a chef's knife do more than a dagger? I guess that's the bottom line. Does a chef's knife do a D3, but crits? Or does a chef's knife do a D4, drop the throne property? Actually, yes, that's what we do. Fuck throne. It shouldn't throw. Why would you throw a chef's knife? That's what daggers do. And then give it a D6 property. And then just make it melee. Because they have a hand crossbow. Has one side to a blade, yeah. Yeah, 2 edges doesn't matter though. That doesn't do anything for mechanics, unfortunately. What do you? I think that's better, right? Hone has a 1920 crit for one combat. Must make a DC 12, a dexterity DC 12 check to regain honed edge. This should have a thing. You should only do it once a day. These should break or something. You know what I mean? Or it should take time. Once per rest? Once per day? How often can they do this? How often can they do this? Has a 19 to 20 crit and must make a DC 12 check to regain honed edge. Huh. I'm gonna have to think about this. I'll have to think about this. My next question is organization. Do you like them alphabetized or do you like them in the order they appear? I kind of like them in the order they appear. I might do a rectangle art along the bottom. Yeah, it takes an hour. That's kind of what I was thinking. Or just 1 hour to sharpen. Just one. Maybe that's enough. Just 1 hour to sharpen. You're like, fuck, I didn't get sharpened. We'll leave it. I think that's even easier. 1 hour to hone. 1 hour to hone edge. One hour to hone the edge. That fixes the whole thing. Now, my question is, do you like these alphabetized? And I also think I'm going to ditch this. And I think really what I want to do is this. Let me turn these back on. I think I want to do this. Like so. I think I'm just going to put a piece of art across the bottom. Like this. And I want a long rectangle. Oh, I like this too. I like this. And I can put a blade in here. You know what I mean? Oh, that's weird that it fucks it up. Oh, it just changes the art. And then put a blade across the bottom. There we go. So, this is the Dungeon Chef. I think it's pretty close to complete. I could alphabetize them here. I just like them in order. So it's like drying rack, chef knife, hand crossbow, cooking pan. Like, they're in the order they appear. Oh, so the cooking pan. 4 gold. Melee armor. Damage is D4, D6. It's shield and versatile. Because you can hit with it with one hand. Or if you're holding it with 2 hands, you can hit people with it. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but they appear in this order. And you've already looked, I guess. Man, it wouldn't be hard to do. Like, turn this back on. I need this to be a little bigger. Yep. So it'd be this. 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 Oops. Should be the 0.15. There we go. Fuck me. I have these locked so they don't fucking move, but when I do this shit, I have to change it. All right, like that, right? So anyway, the cooking pan comes from Delicious in Dungeon, where with 2 hands it becomes a shield. Made of hard material to retain heat or defend yourself. And the shield can be used as a shield if you use 2 hands. It's kind of cool, right? You can fight with it, beat people up, or you can use it as a shield. So that's the chef. I'm going to quickly record a piece for this. We're going to go over it, and I want to make this a really like concise piece, but I got to get going. So I got to make this bitch quick. Quick. So let me start recording. It's 3. Let's get some music. All right. So let me start this up. Put this on. 3. Music. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, we are here to quickly go over one of the new classes coming out in Crawler. Damn it. I fucked that up. Right out of the gate, everybody. Hold on here. All right, 3, 2, 1. I want this to flicker. Hey everybody. Why is this not working? 1, 2. No, my audio. Is it audio playing for you? It's not playing for me. There we go. I'm just gonna redo it. Hey everybody, I want to go over Crawlers Volume 1. It's a new piece that I'm doing to take 3 Shadowdark classes, gear for each class, along with some monsters and some spark tables for people to use for their Shadowdark campaigns. Today I want to quickly go over the in-process design for the Dungeon Chef. You guys know what this is from. I'm a big fan of Delicious in Dungeon, and I wanted to create a Dungeon Chef. We've already had this on my Breachers piece in our lovely live play, but I wanted you to see what it is. So I got our lovely description for it. Crawls are harsh, and space is limited for weapons, gear, and food. Dungeon Chefs excel at turning monsters into meals, ensuring the party is well fed and ready for any challenge. Their Crawler Cookbook is an evolving resource filled with the recipes that provide tactical advantages. I'm gonna reread that. I don't like it. One more time. Crawls are harsh in a space limited for weapons, gear, and food. Dungeon Chefs excel at turning monsters into meals, ensuring the party is well fed and ready for any challenge. The Crawler's Cookbook is an evolving resource filled with recipes that provide tactical advantages. So I broke down what I wanted a Dungeon Chef to be. The goal was I wanted them to have new gear, new equipment that didn't feel like every other class. Yes, you get a dagger, but I made a chef's knife, hand axe obviously to get firewood, hand crossbow to hunt the smaller creatures, and a pan that can be used not only as a weapon, but also a shield. We love you, Senshi. I had to make something in your honor. Armor's leather, obviously for aprons. Maybe I'll add a leather apron. That could be kind of cool. Chainmail or shields, because obviously you can be able to use shields for your pan. D6 per level for your hit points. I don't want them to have too many, but they got to be able to survive those monster encounters. Languages, you get 2 common and then 1 rare. I figure recipes would be written in numerous languages, and I wanted to give them something they could use for those recipes, which is whatever their native language is and maybe some rare shit. Why not have some form of beast language that you get crazy beast recipes to cook leg of, I don't know, aboleth. Do aboleths have legs? No, they don't. Would that be like a fishtail lobster? It doesn't matter. On top of that, they get fire specialists. You use 2 torches instead of 3 to make a campfire. I want them to be able to make them without having to spend all their resources. Dungeon Cook is all about your Crawler Cookbook and campfires and what you can pick for recipes, how you get them, and cooking them. I also added a little special piece that it's a 2 and 6 to draw an encounter when you're cooking. I feel like when you're making stuff, people show up, right? Like when someone walks in your house and you're cooking something amazing, people are drawn to it. And in a dungeon, it should be the same thing. And it doesn't have to be a bad encounter. There are going to be encounters in this book as well for what happens when they smell them, how they react, and some fun things like that to make your dungeon encounters with a dungeon chef all the better. Meal prep is once a day. You can field dress monsters and make up to 4 rations for your party, or you can make a meal from them as well. And then you're going to recipes down below let you do extra things. It is a intellect DC 12 to make them, but that's pretty cool. You can put them on your drying rack, a new piece of gear. You have all your new talents as well. Making a campfire is 1 torch. If you roll a 2, you get the idea for extra recipes for the crawler book table, stat increases, additional use of your meal prep, or choose a talent or 2 points to distribute to your stats. I think this is kind of a fun way to put things together and give you extra options for it. And talents are all part of the Shadowdark kind of set piece for classes anyway. Art's going to go here. The Crawler Cookbook, you can see a plethora of different things you can get, from Fearless Monster Fritters to give you advantage on your first fear check for the day, as long as you use a monster that causes fear to make it. Or Pickled Honey Monster, advantage on checks versus DCs. Man, I fucked this whole thing up today. I cannot speak today. I feel like my mouth is rubber. We're doing this over. I can't believe I'm doing a 3rd take. I'm not happy with any of that. We're doing this again. We're doing it live. I did not like any of that. So sad. I don't ever fuck up like this, but my mouth feels dry today. Probably lack of sleep. Let me do this one more time and not fuck it up. Hey everybody, we're going to talk about the Dungeon Chef. This is one of the new classes I'm building for the Crawlers Volume 1. There's going to be 3 classes in here, a bunch of new stuff, and I'll be honest, I think the Dungeon Chef's my personal favorite, but I'll let you decide that as we roll through here. All the regular things you expect to be in the Dungeon Chef, from the description to the weapons to the armor to the hit points, all included in this. I obviously wanted to make a bunch of new gear. I have dagger on here, the chef's knife is new, the hand axe, you all know what that is. But for them, it's to chop firewood so they can have campfires to cook their food. I added a new hand crossbow and a pan that can be used as a weapon or a shield. We'll get into that as we scroll through. Right now you have leather armor, chainmail, and shields. I'm thinking about adding aprons. If you like the idea of me adding aprons to the game, maybe it gives you an extra toolkit as long as it's a slot for inventory, as long as it's tools or cooking implements. Post something down below. They have a D6 hit points so they can survive those monster combats. Languages, you get 2 and a rare. I wanted a rare in case in your game there's something that makes sense for chefs to have a language for cooks and recipes. You are a fire specialist. Every chef in real life knows how to handle fire. That's kind of what makes you a good chef. If you're in a dungeon doing this, I didn't want them to blow 3 torches, so you use 2 to make a campfire instead. Dungeon Cook and Meal Prep are your 2 abilities you get out of it. Dungeon Cook is about the idea of cooking monsters using your recipe book that gives you a bunch of cool things. I also put a 2 in 6 chance of an encounter, and I'm adding an encounter section below for like special things that can happen when monsters show up and smell. For example, if you're cooking their own, unless they're cannibalistic, not going to be that happy. But for other ones, it's going to increase the chance of maybe they love what you're doing. And remember, counters aren't always combat. It could be other crawler parties or people who are starving. There's some cool stuff that could happen out of this. Your carousing table could change a lot with it as well. Meal prep is the idea of field dressing a monster and creating rations. Small monsters and larger allow you to make food for people. You can make 4 rations, and it's an intellect DC 12 to make them. And once you do, you can do it once a game session and put them on your drying rack. Another new item that allows you to carry extra things on your back to let them dry over time. You can see the talents that are here, from campfires only costing 1 torch to gaining extra uses of your meal prep. But I really wanted these to affect the chef becoming a better chef, being able to stretch ingredients and do more with them. You'll get art here later on. But the Crawler Cookbook, I have a whole bunch in here. There's 12 different recipes, and I believe GMs can make their own up. But these kind of spread the gambit of abilities that I want you to be able to use. And 12 is my favorite. It's kind of like the special piece of all of it. For example, a Fearless Monster Fritters gives you advantage for your first fear check of the day. You use a monster that causes fear. But then you have other things like candied food giving you a luck, or monster sushi gives you a +1 attack versus monster for a day. So if you cook that horrible monster you've been fighting over and over in this section of the dungeon, this lets you affect them a little bit more. And of course, rice and monster, a nice filling food, onigiri of monsters, and it gives you extra 5 hit points for the day. This is all stuff to make your dungeon crawling experience a little easier as a crawler. But my favorite is probably 12 here, which is the whole idea with the create a ration or double the effect of a crawler book recipe you already have. So that means that marinated grilled monster that gives you a +1, instead of affecting 4 people, could be 8, an entire party of people. Or making a ration of it. So you got like field bars that you eat to give you those bonuses as well, letting you stockpile your recipes. You fought something that had fear and you make some parts out of it and make them rations and they're dried. Those MREs last forever. Now you can be fearless when you fight that dragon later on. And then we have our new chef gear. I put gear after each class. I think it makes sense when gear that is so specialized, that is really aimed towards a class, is after that class. So it's easier to find it when you're going through a book. And here we have a drying rack, which allows you to dry up to 10 rations at a time. We have our chef's knife, which has a new rule called honed, which is a 19 and 20 crit. If you were watching a live show, we argued about, or I should say discussed, if it was going to be extra damage that goes away. And we're keeping the honed idea that when you slice or stab somebody properly with your chef knife, the 19 or 20 is a better chance of a crit, but it only lasts for 1 combat. Afterwards, you got to make a dex roll to resharpen your blade. It takes an hour to do so. Then we have the hand crossbow. I've always been a fan of hand crossbows in games. Look, in D&D and other games, hand crossbows were for rogues. To me, if I'm out hunting, I want a hand crossbow to get those rabbits and dungeon critters going around so I can shoot them and get them ready. They're also a really good way to deliver poisons. The chef doesn't come with poisons, but you got to think, eventually they're going to run across things that have them, and nothing's better than having a hand crossbow to put a sleep toxin on, or maybe something that does extra damage to make it easier to take down targets. A lot of poisons get rid of your death saves as well. When you hit 0, you just die. So there's some cool things you could do with that, especially if you were fighting other crawlers. Not saying to eat other crawlers, but, you know, you do you. It's your game. We also have our cooking pan that has been added. That acts as a shield or a combat weapon. It's a versatile shield weapon, so it's a D4 one-handed, D6 with 2, and allows you to use it as a shield if you have 2 hands on it. This is our dungeon chef. This is something that's going to be coming out here through EFP in the next probably month. I'd like to have it out before GaryCon, and then I'm going to be doing some print copies as well. In this, it's also going to have the Lancer class and our Cyanite class. If you haven't seen the Cyanite, we've already done a huge series of videos, like 3 parts on making the Cyanite. I love psionics, and I wanted to make something like that for Shadowdark. So check links down below and comment, is there classes that you want in Shadowdark? My goal is to make things that are a little bit more advanced. As we've watched the Cursed Scrolls come out, she's kept adding like a little bit more, like growing the game with you as you get those zines. I want to do the same thing with crawler volumes and make new versions of classes or enhanced versions of classes so you feel like you're getting more out of it as well. That's it for me on EFP today. As always, watch, listen, learn, be a better gamer, but most of all, go play some fucking Shadowdark. It is an amazing game. If you're a D20 fan, I really think the rules in here are going to teach you to be a better gamer. So that's it for me here for the recorded section. Everybody else, thank you for joining me today for the live session. I have some shit to go do. I got to prep something for food. I got to walk the dog. I'm going to be playing some Moria. I want to go back into the depths of Moria, speaking of cooking, playing Dwarves. If you haven't played that game, it's pretty fucking awesome. I am working on the Vania game as well, Tower Vania. I put a lot more work into that over the weekend. Expect to see some more with that. And I want to be doing a play test of it probably here in February. I'm going to do a solo gameplay live on EFP during the afternoon, and we're going to test out that whole Vania style of play. I'm making the Oracle tables right now, some more gear tables, and I'm hoping the end of this month we're supposed to be getting the full PDF for Mythic Bastion lands. Since those mechanics are the core mechanics I'm using to create Towervania. I want that book to really kind of polish up what I'm doing. But I have a pretty good idea, and I've tested some stuff privately, and it's went awesome. I think it's going to be a great set piece or a great game system to play. So that game's going to be solo, duo, or GM with group. And then what else do I have coming up? I will be back on Friday night. We're going to be doing Headless Nights on Friday. We didn't do it last week because I was out of town, but we will be back this week testing the second level of the dungeon that we were building. So if you're going to be around at 7 p.m., I will start up. We'll go over some horror movie stuff. Tomorrow I'm going to see Wolfman, so I can kind of have some horror movie goodness to talk about. I will put a spoiler cam up during that because I am going to talk about Wolfman. I know it hasn't been out long, but I want to be able to talk about it. Some people in audience have already seen it. And then we'll do our dungeon build. We're gonna dive in the idea of crushing some second level dungeons for Headless Night. That's it for me. If you're watching the live show, obviously hit the thumbs up. Put some comments down below. Like, are you looking for me to do some more live show stuff? Like, is there something you would like to see? Is there a series you missed that I've done? Comments help kind of boil me up to the top. You know all this YouTube stuff, but I'm reminding you, not harping on you. I'll be over in Discord later on tonight. I don't know if I'll be in audio, but I'll definitely be checking stuff. And that's it for me here today, everybody. Have an awesome day. Go play some video games. Go play some tabletop. I'm looking forward to getting art together to get these books out. I think I'm going to be doing all the art for this one. Time to brush off my tablet, right, everyone? Bye, everybody. Have a great day.